So the implant kind of does dissolve within 6 or 8 weeks. So you actually, as soon as the process starts, as soon as your body identifies that it's ready to start healing, I mean, it instantly starts, but it takes time. So I guess to backtrack a bit before I answer that question, I think it's important to understand the reconstruction. So with a reconstruction, they're going to take either from a cadaver or a human donor that is not yourself. They can take a quad, they can take a tendon, a quad tendon, which is the top of your thigh muscle that attaches to your kneecaps. They can use your patella tendon, which is below your kneecap, or they can take your hamstring. And depending on surgeon preference, they'll use those different grafts. So that is actually a tendon. An ACL is a ligament. So they are not inherently the same. Your body literally takes that reconstructed tissue with an ACL and it has to go through what's called ligamentization. It turns it from a tendon to a ligament. If you look at like the histologic studies, there's specific type of cells that the ligaments need to differentiate into to really be a true ligament. And even ligamentization, you don't get the pure cellular changes that you would if your body regrows itself. So even if you had a reconstruction, truly turning from a tendon to a ligament, it can take, the research is all over the place, somewhere between 9 months to 2 years, believe it or not. So it's not necessarily true ligamentous tissue for maybe 2 years after. But a lot of people at that point, they're back planning on it. They're doing a lot of those things because of the ability to resist that. So I think it's important to really know that before we look at how long a bear takes for your body to regrow your own ACL. So it goes through a normal cascade of healing, the inflammatory phase, the subacute, and then the remodeling phase. It can take anywhere, between 9 to 12 months. We know that the 2 month, there's some really good studies, MRI studies that they've done looking at kind of like a 3D print of what the ACL looks like, the regrown ACL looks like as far as, the density and the strength and that kind of stuff. So, it does go through that process of healing almost in line with the ligamentization process of, it can take up to 2 years, but we do notice, typically in our office, what we do is, we look to get the MRI at 9 months. We use that as part of our criteria to identify if the patient is ready to return to sport. So we want to make sure it looks like its native ACL. And if we're not 100% convinced that, hey, there's still some signal, it doesn't look, exactly as dark as we'd like it to look, and we take that as well as the time and the criteria that they're at to go back, and sport and the individual matters as well, to allow them to go back. But to truly grow back your own ACL, you're going to have an immature ACL probably, within that 8 week mark for most people. So the broad answer is, it depends, but we know based on the studies that Dr. Kapoor did up in Boston, I believe, and they looked at how the ACL actually looked on imaging, and it looked more like the native. It looked like the native tissue, definitely by the 24-month mark.